Hello and welcome back to the channel, everyone. We are continuing our little stroll down memory lane with the Japan Chess Classic, which happened here in Kobe, Japan in 2023. This was the first FIDE rated event which I played, and this is why I finally got a FIDE rating as well. So I was really happy to attend this tournament, and also really happy with the result I was able to achieve. So in round one, I took a bye, and then I've already covered my round two and three games in the previous videos. So today we are going to continue with day three, round four. So the tournament was played over 4 days, and it went one round in the first day, and then two to finish up the 7 rounds. And so we're currently getting into day three, round four. We're fresh. We're coming back into the tournament halls for the morning game, and I'm sitting down on the black side of a game versus a Kato. So she is a student, I think, from Tokyo, and the whole group of them are actually here. I saw them in between the games actually chatting with each other as well, so I'm sure they had a great time coming down to Kobe. But now it's down to business, and I have to try and make something happen on the board here. So let's jump into the game and have a look. So let me just make sure it works. Yes, it does. So she went for d4 first. Okay, fair enough. And I will just go for knight f6. They're flexible. I don't really play d5 against d4 myself too much. I used to play a Nimzo for a long time. And recently I've tried to kind of mess around a little bit more with a few other things, including just playing a French, because I used to play a French a long time ago. But in this game, I did not do that. And after I saw bishop f4 on the board, we know what's coming. This is going to be a London. All right, so I personally don't have the massive hate for the London. I found some interesting ways to play against it actually from the black side, and so I've yet to have an incredibly terrible loss or a very bad experience from my own games. But I do enjoy the kind of the fun of having so many other people hate on the opening so much. So I go d5. I've got a general setup that I like to play against the London here. I used to enjoy something like this, and then maybe the bishop out and the queen out to b6, and put some pressure on the queen side and so on. Oh, I will just kind of add a little note to my previous comment. Against the normal London, I don't have any terrible memories, but against the Jobava London, I have many because I have fallen for the same problem multiple times. Thankfully, this was not about Jobava London, and also I do kind of remember now how to deal with it. So yeah, with the pain comes the lessons, right? All right, so she goes knight f3. I push my other pawn. I've yet for someone to one day just kind of like take the pawn. Like no one ever does, right? But I do wonder one day if they do, how I would like to approach that. She goes e3, very standard. I put up my knight, and then she brings her other knight around instead of developing her light square bishop. And I go, okay, well, thank you very much. Then I will take the diagonal. So this is really nice for me. Obviously, what you can also get here sometimes is just people who like put out the light square bishop up front. So sorry, in this position, sometimes you get a bishop e2, or you get another move like that. But yeah, so knight bd2 is still pretty standard, and I like to play my bishop out when I get the chance. And I think this is actually one of the kind of openings that have led me to play a reverse London myself in this year, in 2024 into 2025 a few times. So maybe this is where I started to get a feel for these kinds of positions. Anyway, she closes up, so there she's got her nice triangle now. She's developed all the minor pieces. The light square bishop is still going to come out, and then she's going to castle, and everything's fantastic. And here I also close up my light square bishop. I open up my dark square bishop. Probably just queen straight out to b6 was the right move. I think that was kind of the main theory line, but I was very happy with the general way this game went. Here she puts out her bishop, and now I get my queen out, and this is kind of in my plan, like right I said, right? I want to, so this, maybe the e6 move is the one that's the least kind of necessary, but everything else has been kind of the way I've wanted to play my general opening anyway. After I put my queen out, she decided to take my pawn, and I don't think that's really a theory anymore. I also don't think I was really threatening anything amazing, although I am obviously putting some pressure on her b pawn here. So I'm expecting that after she took my c pawn, she was expecting me to take her c pawn like this, and then maybe she would castle, or maybe she would defend her pawn at the back here in some way. I'm not really sure. However, I decided not to do that. I thought, oh, okay, well, no, never mind. I'll actually just immediately jump in and take that b pawn. And the reason I can do this is because I took the diagonal, right? My light square bishop is on this diagonal, so I'm defending that b1 square. I'm also defending the c2 square. So yeah, my queen is just very comfortable where it is right now. If she tries to, for instance, push away my light square bishop in some way, I can still take. I can still defend it. I can still just move it if I need to. So either way, I think this is very comfortable for me. And also because I have control of this diagonal, I could even just, put my queen over here and try trade off if I felt like that's the way I want to, although I don't. All right, and exactly in this position where I'm doing something that maybe she wasn't so aware of, she blundered just straight into it and put her rook on that defended square. So I took a second here and I was like, oh man, hang on, did I miss something? Like, that's clearly just a rook, right? And very unfortunately for her, it is just a rook. There isn't really much to it. I think that if I think back to what was happening in the opening, we weren't playing incredibly fast, but I was playing very confidently, shall I say. So if I go back, for instance, she opened and I looked and okay, I put my knight out, and then she like continues and I continue and continue. And every time I had a very easy move and I used very little time to do it. I wasn't rushing, but I think the play was slowly moving kind of away from her very comfortable kind of speed. And maybe that's why she overlooked something as simple as this light square bishop that was actually covering the diagonal. So, but I also say this because I've been in that situation, right? You play against I wasn't a stronger opponent in this case specifically, but if I play against someone who's very strong and they play very fast, sometimes I get a feeling like I have to play fast as well to prove it's okay. But actually, then I just blunder and it's a massive disaster. So don't do that. All right. So she unfortunately drops her rook here, and I go, okay, well, I got to take that. She takes with her knight. In this case, obviously, she's also protecting. Oops, sorry. She's protecting the c3 pawn, so I can't do that. But I can take this c5 pawn that she had previously taken my pawn with, and with that, I also develop my dark square bishop, and I can bring my king to safety with a castle. So the situation is very comfortable for me. White's pawns have now actually been broken apart because she took here once, and then I took the back pawn. She's got an isolated c pawn, so things are looking very rough for the London player in this case. So she does castle, I castle as well, and out comes the queen. So I think she's just trying to make sure that she can get her queen out to be a bit more active and start maybe playing the other knight out, bring the other rook out, and maybe get some pressure against my queen because my queen is kind of offside, right? It shouldn't really be sitting on b2 for too long. It's going to get pushed around. So I decide just to make sure there's nothing funny happening on my king side. I'm up in exchange here, and the last thing I want is to have them have some easy way to checkmate me or to make some massive attack and so a6, just an easy move, take control of the g5 square and also ensure there's nothing I can accidentally take my h-pawn. Yeah, nothing funny, right? I'm just trying to steer the game into calm waters because I'm up. All right, so out the knight, and I've decided, okay, cool, it's a better time maybe to move my queen now. The reason is also because if I, for instance, do something else, I don't know, just make a random move, and then they come at me, I can still take this pawn anyway, but the point being they can get some counterplay against my b pawn as well, and I don't want to again make the things complicated, so I'm just going to move my queen out of the way now. And what I can also do now if I want to is I can maybe try and oppose the dark square bishop and get rid of that one, because I don't really want to have so many of these minor pieces and the queen as well, looking down on my king side. I'm trying to kind of thin out the attacking potential from white's side. All right, so indeed she pulls out her rook anyway. An easy thing for me, I decide instead of pushing my pawn, which would also maybe put my knight in a bit of a tricky situation because now it's undefended if something happens. The other thing that this does, not only do I defend my b pawn, but this gives my queen a chance to come all the way back. So I can still maybe come all the way back and then defend the pawn and try trade off my dark square bishop, but I don't have to do it. And in this way, I can both defend my pawn and give my queen a way to come back into the game, into that situation that I was talking about just now, where it looks like white's got a lot of stuff heading towards my king. So white brings back the queen as well, which protects the a pawn. I bring my a rook out over to the c file, which is semi-open. And now I have a very easy one as well, where obviously I can jump, right? Because that pawn is pinned to the queen, and if they take it, I can still take, and after they take, I'm going to take the queen, and that would just be another exchange for me, so looks pretty good. They pushed my queen around, saw it coming, so this was nice for me to have my escape route ready for my queen, so I could just kind of get out of there after taking that pawn. And then after they decide to kind of like, put some more pressure here potentially, maybe they're trying to look at a way to also, oops, sorry, they're trying to look at a way to maybe make something happen on the dark squares. I just decide to push. So the nice thing about bringing my queen back is I get another defender of this e5 square, and I can actually now start and push white back a little bit, which is very nice. I'm super happy with the way it's been going now. Being up a rook is also good, but just being able to get white's pieces pushed off a bit felt like a really good win for me. And then I broke. So in this case, what I'm looking at is I've got these three pieces looking at this square, but I also have a few potential tricks where I can maybe jump my knight out to hit the rook, and maybe I can bring my queen around in the right sense to, what am I saying? I can bring the queen around to try and hit this light square bishop at the back. So the break for me, now that I've taken a little bit of control, where previously it looked like there was a lot heading towards my king, now this dark square bishop is no longer facing my king directly. The queen is not connecting with any piece, so there's no battery. And actually this light square bishop and the knight in the back are looking a little bit out of play. So I'm really happy to try and open things up a bit, and maybe I can even snap off that light square bishop if white does not take the correct way. So they take once, I take, and here you can see the problem is still have two defenders of that square, and they've got three, but the one is their queen, so they're going to have to use the pawn first, and then that light square bishop drops. So instead they jump their knight across, they're hitting my dark square bishop. If I move it, my pawn is potentially weak because they've got two heavy pieces already focused on it. And if I take back, they can jump their knight in and be in a slightly better position. They've moved their knight from the second row to the third. It's a little bit closer to their king. And two knights next to each other, if I just highlight kind of roughly what they would be covering, right? There's a lot of squares that two knights cover off when they're next to each other like this. So that could be really, really good for white as well, just to kind of gain some more space on the board. Given that they are down in exchange, using their minor pieces effectively is obviously a great move for them. So I do take. I don't really know if there's any other fantastic way around it, but I miss the very, very nice other plan that white had here, which is to skewer my queen and my rook. So I didn't see this coming. I was actually really taken off. I was like, oh, hang on, did I just lose back the same exchange again? That was a massive mistake. My bad. But I at least have a one in betweener, which is really nice because I get to take the f pawn with check, and the f pawn is also currently still defended, so the king can't take it back. So the king has to move, and then I move. And on this position now, I'm trying to see if there's a way for me to maybe get to start attacking the king on my side as well, but there's no like immediate ways I can get through, so I just have to admit, okay, cool, I probably kind of messed up a little bit here. They take my rook, and now apparently all my advantage is gone again, but my advantage is gone because I took with the king. So this is again one of those things where I can clearly see that now I've lost an exchange back again, but if I took with my rook, it's still like -2, -3 for black. So I was very, very surprised at the analysis afterwards, and still now I'm like, oh wow, yeah, that thing always confused me because it seems so natural that I want to take with my king because my rook is already kind of on a diagonal I want to use. And if I take here, then I have to move it back out, but yeah, what are you going to do? So they take my dark square bishop, they take the pawn, and then I can move my rook up to defend this pawn, but now the situation is tricky, right? So I won an exchange, but now I've lost the exchange again because the situation became a little bit too tricky, and I have to try find a way to like build a new advantage. Because I've taken the f pawn, I do have a slight advantage engine-wise, but for me to actually still materialize something is a little bit tricky. So the one thing I should just always mention is that if the king takes it, I do have some potential checks. which could be quite useful for me. So I think for this reason also, white was not trying to take anything, not trying to take that pawn just yet, because they were trying to avoid giving me play against their king. So instead they moved their queen over for the check. I saw it coming, so that's nothing too big. And they come into the back. I saw that coming as well. So I mean, I was looking at this when I moved my rook as well. I know that they can come into the back, but it feels fairly safe to be here. And even if they check me here, I can still block. And there's no immediate threat against my king. Queen goes back, and here I push up, just trying to ensure that they can't even do this anymore. So there's no checks against my king. And unfortunately for white now, again kind of on an engine analysis point, them trying to chase my king around has given the advantage back to me. So it's a little bit unclear maybe from play, but the engine says that, oh no, hang on, white, you've completely messed up your time here. What you should have been doing, instead of moving your queen up in the first place, is you should have moved your rook back. And this is, I'll just show you the line because it's the kind of thing that like I don't really I'm not really sure exactly where the engine would go. So I would go up, they would try it, I'd say no, my queen comes over, and then apparently this is good for white. Just slowly moving around. We're just shuffling our pieces, and I don't really see it going anywhere, so I understand big time why they were moving their queen up like that, but it wasn't a good move. So after they went back and I closed off the diagonal to keep my king safe, they come out, and here I have a nice move where I can fork their rook and their queen, and after they take, I defend my front f pawn, and I also have access to the back rank to potentially check. So there's a potential check here that could be quite dangerous, right? So if they, for instance, take um, my pawn here, then I can check, and then the king can't go forward, so they have to check with something else, and then I go here or here, and then I can move on. So I'll maybe this is the easiest way to kind of like force something to happen here, and then I just go like this, and good stuff. However, in this position, um, white did something else, and it's also losing. So white decided to move their bishop back preemptively. And now actually the situation is just really, really good for me. So I jump my knight in, looking at this fork, and also maybe in some way I can try and do something like this. So I've got way too much going around here. The fork is a very easy one. As soon as they move the king, I can potentially push. If they move the queen, I might be able to get a check down on this line as well, and then the pawn is already defended. So they move the king up, and I found a nice continuation here. I just queen anyway, because then they have to move back after they take, and then I fork them again. So very unfortunate for white. In the end, the first original blunder was not the reason they lost, because I actually made a mistake back. But unfortunately, at the end, I think they were just not really clear on what they should be doing, and chasing my king around actually turned out to give me a bit of an advantage, because they wasted time just moving their queen up and down the A file. So if I run a little bit over to the analysis quickly, you can see here, after that initial blunder where they just dropped the rook, I was clearly winning for quite a while. But then slowly but surely, I didn't really know exactly how to win. And then after I slipped up by allowing them to check, things actually got to a fairly kind of close position. This is less than -1, so I would say this is roughly equal again. But as soon as you get to the point where they start moving their queen around again, then unfortunately the evaluation flows in my direction. So this ended up being a really, really fun game, a little bit of an up and down game. And I was really happy to win this. My opponent was 1700 rated FIDE, so for me this is another great opponent to face and be able to get a point from in my journey to try and get my first FIDE rating. I did feel a little bit bad after the original blunder, and then after I blundered, I felt doubly bad because people make mistakes, but then I shouldn't be making mistakes back. I should be winning. I should be taking the point. And so I think this is something I have to work on a little bit, because it's happened to me even in recent seasons where I'm doing online, where if I'm winning, I kind of take my foot off the gas a bit. I don't kind of mercilessly try and get the win, and I think maybe that's a little bit of a weakness in a game where you have to take the win, right? So yeah. Anyway, that's the mental side of this is another conversation. But thankfully, what this means is that out of the first 4 rounds, we played 3 games, and we currently at that point in the tournament we're sitting on 2.5 out of 4, which is a fantastic rating, a fantastic score for our first kind of FIDE rated tournament. I was super happy to be taking some points off of the people that I have so far because none of them were people that I thought I could easily beat. And especially when you start to play younger people, the actual rating versus their current strength is, completely different. So you're very happy if you scrape through for a draw in some situations as well. All right, so let's stop it here then. Thank you very much for joining for round 4. This was the morning game, so the next video will be the afternoon game in round 5, and after that we'll only have one round, one game, 1 day left. I want to say one game, 1 day left with 2 games, and as with my tournament in Kyoto Gion, which I also recapped, we also had a fantastic final boss for this tournament, so I really hope that you will enjoy the videos by the time we get there and watch that final one as well. Alright, yeah, see you again next time. Ciao, ciao.